Contractor making clothes for sportswear giant Nike has been caught using forced labour in Malaysia. An undercover investigation by 7 News discovered factory workers being paid a pittance and forced to live in squalor while Nike stars earn a fortune.
Some 400 dead, hundreds still believed to be missing. Garment workers in Bangladesh paying the price for cheap clothing.
When Nike was called out in 1991 for their mistreatment of workers in sweatshops across China, Vietnam, and Indonesia, they tried to clean up their act. Yet years later, in 2017, after improving its reputation and becoming the top-selling activewear brand in the world, Nike began to take a step back in their ethics. The company decided to turn its back on its commitment to the Worker Rights Consortium, which means labor experts are banned from monitoring Nike's supplier factories. Along with that, they will not commit to eliminating hazardous chemicals from its supply chain, nor will they commit to paying living wages to its supply chain workers.
The behavior of the organization is like exploiting labor, creating unsafe environment, and forced labor. There are two factors affecting this behavior. It's mainly globalization and poverty. Globalization promises to pull people out of the poverty by integrating them into world market and offering them decent jobs with decent pay. Instead, the number of working poor are expanding daily, and labor exploitation with forced labor and at the end of the continuum is becoming increasing prevalent across many countries and industries. Identity and the discrimination on basis of race, gender, caste, and other reasons shapes how people are treated in the labor market, and it will help to justify the supply of people vulnerable to forced labor in global economy.
In the world, government sector jobs, majority of people who are working in the government sector job is women's. They are always facing inequality, discrimination, and sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is a regular and a daily risk that can create substantial restriction in women's day-to-day life. So, sexual harassment may happen in different forms, like verbally, it's like whistling at someone, making sexual comments, work discussion to sexual topics, and non-verbally, it's like looking person up and down, like elevator eyes. Who are more vulnerable to the sexual harassment in the workplaces are young women and new entrants to the labor market, because of all women always try to get willing to get a job because of their low status, and they think they are not well educated. And divorce and separate women, in my personal experience, I have seen the supervisors, they try to involve divorce and separate women's their personal matters, and women with disabilities, women with racial minorities. These are the people who are more vulnerable to the sexual harassment in the workplace.
Ethical behavior should be a priority in any organization. Sadly, this isn't always the case for Nike, as they are more concentrated on money going into their pockets. In 2011, Indonesia sweatshop workers for Nike were only paid $1.25 a day, which is not nearly enough to live on. Workers were forced to work overtime hours and could not live a normal family life at home. When the minimum wage rose in 2013, military officers were hired by Nike to pressure and threaten the workers into refusing that right. Nike also failed to pay 600,000 hours in overtime labor and only paid their employees when they were forced to do so. Nike can afford to pay Tiger Woods $100,000 to wear their products, but fail to compensate their employees appropriately. In the Nike sweatshops, there is a severe autocratic management style. Workers are threatened, beaten, and even robbed of their own homes by military officers hired by employers. There's excessive amounts of control within these workplaces, and this leads to work intensification. This type of behavior yields short-term benefits, but is extremely frowned upon by society. This is the reason why we have ethics, to prevent these type of behaviors from happening and ensuring that workers have job satisfaction and do not find it a mandatory and painful experience at work.
Ways to increase ethical behaviors include good customer service by listening to what consumers have to say, good human resources by treating employees well, creating a safe work environment, and fair wages, product integrity by ethical production standards and letting employees and suppliers feel less guilty among selling the products, and competitive integrity, motivation by other businesses to do better, and creating good leadership skills.